Hey, Dina, it's great to see you and chat about your book. I'm here and I'm holding this beautiful book called The Jews of Ottoman Izmir, published by Stanford University Press. And I'm so happy to have a few minutes to talk to you about this true masterpiece of historical research and archival digging. So congratulations and welcome to
Thank
our
you
little
so much.
chat. You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
Um, since we are on Zoom and prisoner to the digital platform, will you start by telling us about the picture behind you?
Sure. The photo comes from the book, and it's a street scene from the Jewish quarter of Ottoman Izmir around 1901. And it really, the mood of the photograph really captures to me kind of like the spirit of the book and what it's trying to argue. In that this street scene, this gritty street scene where you have peddlers and shoe shiners and beggars and this convergence of all sort of socioeconomic strata in the community. Like, this is where the action of the book happens. This is where it unfolds. And so that's why I've now made this my preferred Zoom background.
Right. Well, I mean, one reason I think the book is so compelling is that you make this argument, and through narrative as well as evidence and more, that we really have to pay closer heed to poverty and to the downtrodden, to the population of beggars, to people who the disabled in the community, and that we've really overlooked something important in Jewish history, modern Jewish history, by not giving pride of place to these members of the community.
I think so, yeah, and that's what attracted me to look at this community when I began my research. Is that when Izmir surfaces, when it surfaces in the sources from the period, it usually surfaces as a venue of conflict,
Mhm.
of taxation battles, of sort of class warfare, and I wanted to know why. Why are these issues sort of exploding here? And yeah, I think what I've tried to show through the archival work is that when you pay attention to these local dynamics within the community, right, you see that a lot of the paradigms that we assume to sort of govern the study of modern Jewish history don't really work when you try to apply them to the Ottoman Sephardi world. Um, and yeah, for the Jews on this street, for
Right.
them, they were
Mhm.
certainly grappling with lots of questions about what it meant to be modern. But I bet if we were to interview them, I tried to get as close as possible to
Of
doing that
course.
through looking at these archival records. They would most likely be talking about their struggles with poverty, with trying to enter the middle class, with negotiating new socioeconomic hierarchies that were a product of the 19th century in
And
Ottoman
sometimes, as
cities.
you described, they're struggling with how to find their next meal, how to feed their kids.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the book tries to capture the sort of upwardly mobile, the sort of smaller slice of the community that's upwardly
Right.
mobile, like, it engaged in a really heavy process of a bourgeoisement. But
Right.
what I've also tried to do is capture the larger swath of the community that was struggling from meal to meal, that was living on, weekly distributions of charity,
Yeah.
through the records of all kinds of charitable
Right.
associations.
One of the things I think is so amazing about your project is that to to write a really local history, and a local history of a place that had been overlooked by scholarship in favor of other communities, especially Istanbul, Salonika. But to do this really local work, you had to go so global in your archival hunting. I mean, you really had to look far afield. And in fact, so few of the records are, I know you worked in Izmir, but so few are actually there today.
That's right. Yeah, they're dispersed across. Like, this is the case for doing Sephardi history in general,
Yeah.
right? They're dispersed across many archives. In the case of Izmir, I mean, we're lucky in that a rich and robust archive exists. It's just no longer in Izmir, and a lot of it was deposited in Israeli archives. But in terms of maps and photographs, and of course, drawing on the Allianz records, which are crucial to reconstruct a kind of westernizing gaze. um, of the community. It is a kind of, you're sort of on a global hunt for a
For a
local
lost local
story.
story. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. One of the other things that I am so drawn in by with your book, and with this, unfortunately, we have to end, is that you raise a question that I think readers should read the book for the answer. And that question is, what do we do when difference is unremarkable and when Jewishness is unremarkable within the context of a city? And I think it's such an elegantly simple, but also such a crucial question. So maybe as a closing few seconds, you can give us a teaser of why you asked that question.
Thank you. That question really comes from years of trying to figure out where the Sephardic story fits in within the larger narrative of modern Jewish history. And when you're trained in modern Jewish history, you inherit this sort of inventory of paradigms that you sort of presume to be present, like assimilation, acculturation, secularization. And then you sort of go, to the archive armed with these interpretive tools and realize that these are not working. They don't fit. They don't explain anything. And so what I've tried to do through this local case study is show that we need to, think more creatively about the paradigms we assume to, govern Jewish life, especially coming from the Ottoman context, the Islamic world more broadly.
Yeah,
So
wonderful. Well, for all those readers out there wanting to learn more about Sephardic history, Ottoman history, Izmir in particular, but also questions of class and modernity in an evolving European and Middle Eastern world, rush out and buy The Jews of Ottoman Izmir. And Dina, congratulations. And I'm so glad we got to chat.
thank you so much. I
Okay,
really
thanks.
appreciate it.
Stay safe.
Thank you.